Yep.
All right, let's see if we can get this first one done. This is the future. Well, according to Saturday morning cartoons. It's a world of flying cars, of living in the clouds. George Jetson works in manufacturing. He makes sprockets. He has only one coworker, though. It's an automatic robot. He works 1 day a week for 1 hour. 2 hours if he has overtime. George Jetson and his automatic robot give us a chance to look into our possible future, which presents the question, how will automation and manufacturing change in the future? In order to answer this question, we're going to examine first, how has automation developed over the last year? Second, what's the evolution of our use of automation? And finally, what will it be like to work in this next era of automation? So first, what has developed over the last year? Over the last year, one of the most significant developments in automation has been in artificial intelligence. AI is no longer the world of just the academic. It has come to both small and large manufacturing operations. Last June, I went to a conference for Autodesk. It's a supplier of engineering and software development, or engineering and design. At that conference in June, they presented their new software called Generative Design. Generative Design, if you want to design a part, don't design a part. Simply tell the software the parameters of what you want to do. Tell it the loads, the tolerances, and from that, the generative design software will generate hundreds of variations to meet your design and demand specifications. This is a structural support system. It's created by Generative Design, and it's currently in use in the Airbus 320. It's 40% lighter and 2 times stronger than anything the Airbus engineers have ever created. Generative Design has been used to make everything from flip-flops to motorcycle chassis. This is the generative design algorithm to decide where to put the next stops for the Tokyo rail system. Generative design now gives a small manufacturer access to a world-class aerospace engineer or an urban planner. What we can see from these latest developments in AI is that automation will no longer just be on the shop room floor, it's going to move into the front office. So second, how are we using automation? And that will give us insight on how it will be developed over the next years. Well, if we look at the first iterations of automation, what we see is something very straightforward. Numerically controlled machines work side-by-side labor. Simply, so now you had fewer workers able to do more in less time. Our faith in automation has only continued to grow. And I would argue that while that's happened, our desire to manage people has started to decline. See, technology is awesome. People, you have to hire, you have to observe them, you have to discipline them. People are a headache. However, it's that desire to not want to manage people that is at the center of the 2 recent crashes of the Boeing 737 MAX. There, the engines on the Boeing are slightly larger and heavier, causing the plane to tip upward. Because of that possibility of tipping upward presents the possibility of stalling. So Boeing decided not to tell the pilots about this. Instead, they installed software that would take control of the plane and force the tip back down. Now you may ask, why would Boeing install software that would take control of the plane and not tell the pilots? This is Boeing's own words. The company had decided against disclosing more details to cockpit crews due to concerns about inundating average pilots with too much information. What I find concerning about this statement isn't that Boeing is trusting computers too much. It's that they trust their ability to train pilots so little. If we look at the evolution of automation in a very rough form, what we started off with was it being, and there's a word down here, you can guess what it is. right? It was accurate and precise. That's why we use the machines. Then they took over jobs that were dangerous and difficult. And then they took jobs from us that could be done more faster and efficiently. And now we're using automation simply as an alternative to having to deal with people. Now, in the far-off future of evolution, we're entering finally into the world of total automation. But between now and then, what are we going to have? My argument is that between now and then, we're going to see companies go into a more kind of cyborg world in which they'll understand the limits of automation while accepting the challenges of how to manage people. And that brings us to our third area of analysis. What will it be like to work in this next era of automation? What I believe is that we'll need people that can both process data and engage people. In manufacturing, the obtaining of data to look at manufacturing operations usually interrupts actual manufacturing operations. So if we're going to collect that data, we should ask 3 questions. First, what's the cost? Not just in dollars, but in the interruption of our workflow. Second, can we trust the data? And finally, does the data really matter to our decision making? And if it doesn't, why are we collecting it? Michael Tracy and Fred Wismar said, the management team can usually shortcut the decision-making process by drawing on its own collective knowledge. But not only will we be able to have to understand data in this next era, we're going to have to understand how to engage in people. Now, there are 3 levels of engagement that I see in the workplace. First, there's those that we report to, those that report to us, and those that we work with. Within each of those, we have to be able to communicate, motivate, and discipline them. In each way of those, we're going to have a different method, right? I call this the matrix of workplace engagement. Trademark pending, nobody can take that. So what we can see now is that the next era of automation will actually demand more of us, not less. So now, as we look at the question, how will automation in manufacturing change in the future? We see that it will be a complex, difficult road that will involve both machines and people. On my desk is a small toy model of the Jetsons car. It's a reminder of a world where there's going to be flying cars and living in the clouds. But it also stands for the challenges and the exciting road to be able to get there. Thank you.